Come on in and sit down. You caught the hardcore crew chewing the fat. You caught us shooting the shit. You caught us in the moment.
Or a sink.
Tell you what, if you drove that into one of them automatic car washes, all the alarms would go off and say, "Who's kicked this little football in here?"
Well, you know what, guys? We are in the moment right now, and we're going to talk about last night's edition on Raw. What happened on Raw? A bunch of guys who was dressed up as some WWE Golden Era fans were asked to remove their costumes. Some fans were dressed as Ric Flair, the Macho Man Randy Savage, the Ultimate Warrior, IRS, Sergeant Slaughter, Big Boss Man, and others. One man noted that they were told to take off their costumes or be removed from their front row seats. The group then walked out and given new WWE t-shirts before returning. The WWE doesn't mind if fans dressing up for the events, but a policy has not to have them sitting over from across the what's called a hard camera due to a potential distraction to the viewer. One of the fans tweeted last night following the statement, says, "We're not looking to hijack the show or steal the spotlight. Wrestling is supposed to be fun, right?" And you know what? And I think exactly this is right. What is wrong? I didn't even notice last night that they even had the fans who were dressing up in these costumes. I actually had to go back today and actually watch these, see these fans. And I find it funny that the WWE takes more notice to all these little stupid little things. I think sometimes the WWE goes too far. Billy, what do you think?
I gotta agree with you to a point, yeah, that sometimes fans can be a distraction at some point, plus sometimes, like, even with today's wrestling fan, they would turn on, see people in costumes and be pointing around, scratching their head, thinking, who are they dressed up as? Because a lot of today's wrestling fans don't know the Golden Era wrestlers. They don't know the Hulk Hogans. They don't know the Ric Flairs, the Macho Mans. And to me, it was more than just having fun. They were also paying tribute to some of the wrestlers that they grew up with, that they idolized. And I didn't see anything wrong with that, but apparently WWE doesn't want any hard distractions on their hard camera. So, as far as it goes, I would say that maybe WWE might have been in the wrong, but at least they did something in return for the fans actually cooperating with WWE. They actually gave them new shirts to wear at the event, which I think was probably a stand-up move, because if they would have just told them, take off your costumes, you can't wear them in there, but they actually gave them something in return for actually cooperating. So my hat's off to WWE for actually taking that into consideration and giving those fans those free shirts.
I understand that it's what they were trying to do, but I still think that but the WWE always seems to have to worry about the smallest little detail, and I think that the fact is that a lot of the people didn't know, and now they made a small issue a much bigger issue. I mean, a lot of fans on this Twitter retweeted were very, very angry, saying, come on, WWE, this is stupid. I mean, if they were all dressed up as Chris Benoit or CM Punk or, AJ Styles from TNA, or formerly of TNA, then I can understand the point. But I think they went a little too far. Andy, what do you think?
I agree and I disagree. We've been on like the other side of the scale with doing that thing professionally. It's bad for, how can I say, if you're, they call it rubbernecking, don't they? If you're driving down the highway and there's a car accident on the opposite side of the road, you stop and look. It's nature, if something's like distracting in the background, to take you away from whatever it is that you're watching at that particular moment, and your eyes go on it. And when we were watching Raw on Monday, I noticed there was a guy with like a blonde wig and a pink flowery pink silk shirt. I think he got a bandana on or something stupid, an headband on. And for about 10 or 15 minutes, I was trying to work out who the hell he was dressed as. So it was a distraction to me, although it was also more entertaining, obviously, than the wrestling was. So I agree to disagree, I suppose my answer would be on that one. Yes, it is a distraction, but it was more entertaining than the wrestling, unfortunately.
Well, and again, you just made that a very valid point. Let's be realistic. Lately, WWE hasn't been the most entertaining, and if they're not entertaining, what do? We start looking around the crowd for shit that's more interesting, you know?
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we been on the show and looking and laughing at the posters?
Exactly. Yeah. So, if it wasn't for the costumes and they had interesting, signs, what are they going to do now? Stop pulling the signs? Oh, wait, they've already done that, haven't they, Lance?
Yeah, and also, but I agree. I think they went way too damn far because, like, okay, yeah, they had them guys, they made them change, but they didn't do anything to the guy. It was either in the bad Russian segment or the Paul Heyman segment where they had like a hard shot of the guy's face, and like right beside it, there was these two idiots like making wailing their arms around, making funny faces and stuff. You could see it. They didn't do nothing to them. Double standard much?
Perhaps it's double standard, but again, I don't really think that, you can't really kick somebody off for making funny faces.
Andy, you could do a better fake Russian accent than that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that whole thing.
Somebody made out in, I think it was Ash, that he sounded more like a Kentucky bloke than a Russian or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he had a very fake accent that was terrible. Yeah, Lana's accent was better, but of course we all know that Lana is away doing a movie. Actually, we can just jump on that. We do have an update with Lana. There's some talks that Lana could possibly miss WrestleMania as she's away doing the movie Interrogation, co-starring Edge. This explains obviously why she's been gone, but it also may develop into a storyline where her and Rusev could do a split. Of course, right now WWE is just teasing the storyline. We don't really know in which direction that's going to go. As for WrestleMania, Lana could very well miss the pay-per-view, or they could fly her in, depending on, again, which they want to do. So this is still, everything's up in the air. So we'll keep you up to date with that story as well. Let's move on. Andy's good friend Cassandra Frazier is filing a wrongful death suit against the WWE. Now, Andy, I know you just want to chip in and chime in on this one, but we're going to save the best for last with you on this one. Back in February, Cassandra Frazier argued that her husband, Nelson, died as a result of injuries sustained throughout his career in the WWE. She alleges that the wrongful conducted long-term consequences for Nelson Frazier's, including concussion and, quote, serious permanent and disability injuries throughout his WWE career. Additionally, Cassandra is accusing the WWE for withholding both medical and information about Nelson and improperly warning talents the risk of involving being a WWE performer. WWE attorney Jerry McDevitt recently spoke with the Boston Herald about the wrongful death suit and brought against the company by the widow estate Nelson Frazier Jr. Here's what he had to say. It's an embarrassment to be a lawyer sometimes. It's ridiculous that one can say you try to blame someone just because the gentleman is overweight. He died of a heart attack, and he slowed over the years. His performance slowed over the years. Excuse me. It's ridiculous to try to blame someone for that. Lance, your thoughts?
Well, when it said that Frazier had a little bit of a weight, or he was overweight. That's like saying Whitney Houston had a slight cocaine habit.
You know what? Exactly.
That was a big son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And
Billy,
I'll put it like this. Sorry, my allergies are acting up. Money grab.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Billy, do you think Cassandra Frazier has any claim to this, wrongful death suit?
Absolutely not, and let me tell you why. Correct me if I'm wrong, but after Nelson's passing, wasn't WWE the first one to say that they wanted to, help take care of her a little bit, and in some form or some facet, and then she would release a statement saying that how much she loved and was going to miss her husband, and then the very next day she starts putting some of his stuff on eBay to sell for money. And this is what it's all about. It's all about the almighty dollar when it comes to that, and that's all she's looking for. She's looking for an easy payday, nothing more, nothing less.
You know what? I totally agree with you, and that's exactly what it's been. And the sad thing is that, like you said, WWE gave her money, so they wanted to help her out. And even after that, she's just doing all this. And, as a grieving widow, she wasn't exactly, not showing having the behavior of a grieving widow, as she was posing in dirty negligees all over Facebook, as Andy will, showed us plenty of pictures. Andy, your good friend Cassandra, which you happen to be on our friends list, what are your thoughts? I know you want to,
She's just a money-grabbing whore. I don't care if she is. She's just a money-grabbing, a money-grabbing whore. It amazes me. Yeah, some of the things that he's done in the WWE have probably contributed to his death. They're not the sole reason why he's died, you dumbass. It defies any... Does she really think that she's going to win a case that my husband died because he was a wrestler? She's just pissing in a very, very strong wind, and she's going to get nowhere fast. She really isn't. All she's doing is disrespecting herself, because I've washed my hands off accepting her as his wife. She was just a trollop that used to follow him round, but she's now lost a meal ticket, and she's after an easy buck, and that's what it is.
Yeah, and it's a shame that it had to come to this, because she's played this card more than once, and it's just it's pretty sad. So,
well, what I was like, and I've got to mention this because I hope she does get a copy of this audio thing, and I hope she does play it. But when I actually saw that she was selling her husband's ashes for the ice bidder, she went down the toilet, in my estimation. That's the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
My question is, who would buy it, and what exactly would they do with the ashes? That really freaks me out.
Well, I know you shouldn't make light-heartedness of it, but the one thing that I've prayed and hoped would happen, I mean, they were taken off apparently, but the only thing I would have liked to have seen is somebody like Vince to have bought them and put them in the Hall of Fame. And I'm not, although it makes me giggle when I say that, I don't wish to mean light-heartedness of it, but
wow,
Vince,
he would actually be in the Hall of Fame.
Vince should have actually bought them. Put him in the Undertaker's urn. I know you shouldn't be laughing about it, but you just can't tell. But so, God rest his soul.
But you know what? That actually would be actually cool. Take Nelson Frazier's ashes, buy them, and put them in fall urns. Yeah, put them in his actual urn. That would be kick-ass. I mean, I think a lot of...
Hey, who's to say Percy Pringle in there already?
I'm not going to stop laughing now thinking about that. Oh, dear.
Kind of makes me wonder what was in Bray Wyatt's urn last night on Raw.
Have you? I don't know if you want to leave this in or cut this out, Rick. But this is a rude joke, but it's not that rude. But it was an old lady who had her ashes of a long lost or a 78-year-old husband delivered back to her home. And the Undertaker comes with the urn and puts them on a pot, as she requested, in the centre of her living room table. And she took the lid off while the Undertaker's standing there, and she says, "George," and that was the name of her late husband. She says, "Do you know that blowjob I promised you?"
My brain.
Wow. Only here on Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Oh, wow, that's, well, let's move on. Since we're speaking about the,
blowjob.
Well, no, blowjob, we're also
Mr.
speaking
Rollins himself.
Yeah.
I need to go consult with my rabbi, and I'm not even Jewish.
Now we're going to speak about the WWE Hall of Fame. There's a rumor that Kevin Nash could be one of the last inductees of this year's WWE Hall of Fame. Kevin Nash is still believed to be announced for this year's Hall of Fame. He's supposed to be going on next week on the WWE's Go Home show, which will be held in Los Angeles. As of this week, Nash and the inductor Shawn Michaels are still expected to be in the show this week, but that's, of course, yet to be official. Billy, what are your thoughts about Kevin Nash going in for this year's Hall of Fame?
well deserved. I mean, he's had a great career. Didn't have too good of a starter career in WCW when he was Oz and just made to look like a big clownish freak. But he had a good, decent run as Vinny Vegas, and then really made his mark and made his stamp in the wrestling industry as Big Daddy Cool Diesel. And a lot of people remember that huge year-long run he had as WWF champion that year, and he really has deserved it. And not only that, but he was really like one of the cornerstones of the NWO, probably one of the best storylines to come out of WCW. And the dude has worked hard on it. Unfortunately, his career did get cut short because of all the knee issues. But both in and out of the ring, the guy was just an absolute talent. And if he really does get it, then it's very well deserved.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Andy, your thoughts?
I'm going to coin a phrase that someone said on a shoot interview I watched. Kevin Nash is the type of person that if the shit hit the fan, he'd be one step behind the blades. He's known for doing a lot of things, but I think he's only known for doing a lot of things because of the other tag partners or groups that he hung around in, I think. When you think of Kevin Nash, you think of Hogan, you think of X-Pac, and so on and so forth. You never just think of Kevin Nash or Diesel. You don't remember a great... The only matches I can remember of Diesel was when he fought Undertaker, and Kevin Nash was the fake Undertaker at the time, so I think it was...
No, it wasn't him. It was primetime Brian Lee that was the fake Undertaker.
Is that what it was?
Yes, it wasn't Kevin Nash.
But didn't Kevin Nash fight him as his persona at the time, which was
as Diesel? He fought him as Diesel.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the only thing I can actually remember Kevin Nash doing. All I can remember him in is being like a run-in with Hulk Hogan and stuff.
I still remember him in WCW on Nitro.
He's a big
Hulk Hogan. It was Hulk Hogan versus Kevin Nash for the WCW World Title, where Kevin Nash was champion.
The finger poke of doom.
Thank you very much. And I hate to say it, but that's one of the things I still remember. And of course, who could forget, like you said, it was still again with the tag team, when he did the invasion with Scott Hall. So, yeah, but again, it's always been with somebody. But I guess he still had some of the greatest mic skills in the world. Lance, what are your thoughts?
Definitely deserves to be in because all of the history he was part of, because let's face it, without the NWO, there would have been no Attitude Era.
There would have been no Monday Night War.
Exactly. And a match, I'm not sure what in your house it was. Billy, maybe you can help me with this. But right before he left to go to WCW, it was, I know it's on Shawn Michaels' first DVD set they put out for him. It was him versus Shawn Michaels, and just, it was an epic match. And I just loved hearing the guys doing, like, shoot interviews. That's one of my favorite guys to search on YouTube.
I got to meet him briefly last year during WrestleCon. I just went up to him, shook his hand, and told him thank you for all the years that you've been entertaining fans, and he was very welcome to it. You know, he's very receptive of it, if you know what I mean.
Kevin Nash, you know, I've seen a lot of his shoot interviews. He's the type of person, he shoots from the hip.
Yeah.
So...
Just don't make him tear squad.
Well, let's move on. There's, of course, an update on Kevin Owens and his mescanopathy injury, if I can pronounce that right. He has to repair his knee injury, which he suffered last week. Dave Meltzer noted that on his edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, that Owens is expected to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, which means he's more than likely to miss the WrestleMania 31 weekend edition of NXT. So that's a hard bullet to bite. And it's a shame because that was my guess, is that where Kevin Owens was going to be facing Finn Balor. What are your thoughts, Bill?
That is a tough loss right now, for NXT with very terrible timing, not only for NXT, but very terrible timing for Kevin Owens, too. But that's the thing people need to realize about these injuries, that they could happen at any time, any place. And I think perfect example to bring up for that is when last year, after Daniel Bryan won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, what happened 2 months later? Neck injury that sidelined him for the rest of 2014. You know, and these injuries couldn't come at the worst possible time for these guys. And I can't help but feel for Kevin Owens, even though I've spoken with the current MSX heavyweight champion, Rhett the Threat, who apparently has no really good consideration for Kevin Owens. And in fact, just recently on Sports Entertainment Tonight on YouTube, he actually he was very outspoken when it came to his feelings about Kevin Owens, and he basically said a lot of derogatory things that I care not to repeat, especially in my current setting right now, so I'm not going to repeat it. But, you know, he put the NXT championship on the guy, and then he goes down to injury, you know, and it's just really bad, unfortunate luck for both NXT and WWE and Kevin Owens.
Lance, over to you.
Yeah, didn't they? I don't watch a whole hell of a lot of NXT, but is Zayn back yet?
Not yet.
Oh, that does suck. Because you lost two of the biggest stars, even though I know Owens just got there, but still, in the fans' eyes and people that actually know wrestling, know those two huge names.
I believe he's supposed to be back tomorrow night, though.
Yeah. Well, that might help them.
Andy, I know you're not a big NXT fan, but what are your thoughts about this injury?
It's the same old story every year with people who have been looking for the big one. They get a chance of getting the big one, and then something stupid happens. It's the only good thing about it is, and I know it sounds an horrible thing to say, but normally when things like this happen, you feel really sorry for the guy, but it normally ends up doing him a big favour in the long run. Maybe in 2 or 3 years he might be even headlining WrestleMania. You never know. Sometimes these things can fall in your favour.
Well, like I said, even though he's going to be missed the weekend as far as an injury, do you think there's any possibility of maybe him even making an appearance? What do you think about that one, Billy?
If he's physically able to make an appearance, I wouldn't have a doubt in my mind that he would be there. You know, wrestling is his life. Kevin Owens, you know, for the last 15 years, we've seen what he can do. And now that he's finally made it to the big one, that he's finally made it to WWE in NXT, regardless of what his situation is, if he's injured or not. If he is able to do it, he will do it, and he will make an appearance.
We're going to wrap up this edition of In the Moment. We want you, the fans, to chime in and give your thoughts. What do you think about the WWE making those Golden Era fans remove their costumes from the front row seat? Please put your comments in the comment section below. And please subscribe to us over at youtube.com/HWR show. We have the incomparable Lance Moss, and you can reach him over at youtube.com/Lance Moss TV. Lance, what do you got going on?
Also, I got album reviews, NASCAR discussion videos, redneck woman cooking videos, musical equipment reviews, and a bunch of rants. And also, I got the archives of controversies and scandals. Also, follow me on Twitter. It's at Lance Moss TV.
Andy, where can everyone find you at?
Yeah, best place to find me is at www.stokehaunted.com.
We have the WrestleGamer at Billy Boudreaux, and you can find him over at WGSTV. Billy, what do you got going on?
I got several Let's Plays going on of Honey Pop. Also started Dying Light, which is insanely hard. I also started Tales from the Borderlands, and always you can also check out the WWE 2K15 playthrough I've been doing, where everyone can see me getting my ass thoroughly handed to me by Dolph Ziggler.
All right. Well, for everyone here, I'm your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.
Andy, please let me go out of the backseat of your car.
Thank you for listening to this edition of In the Moment. Make sure you follow us at any one of our locations. whether it's YouTube, Dailymotion, and now SoundCloud.com under the name HWR Show. Until the next time, this is your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.